Hello and welcome back, my friends. This evening I'm headed out to the garden to plant out some pole beans. I wanted to bring you along and show you how I'm going to do that. So back over here on my potting bench, I've got some rattlesnake pole beans that I started in some play sand. This is an heirloom variety of bean, easy to grow. You can direct seed these in your garden, or if you want to get a jump start on the season, you can start them indoors in a greenhouse. You can see how well they took growing out in the sand. And I did inoculate these beans with some rhizobium bacteria prior to planting them out. Got a beautiful evening to enjoy out in the garden, getting some planting done. All right, so the pole beans are going to do best in full sun, so I've chose a central location here in the garden that doesn't receive too much shade during the midday. Now there's lots of different ways to trellis up your pole beans, your snap peas, your gourds, some of your cucumber varieties. But out of all the different techniques that I've applied in my garden, my favorite has become utilizing these heavy-duty tomato cages as trellising systems. Now, quality tomato cages are actually quite hard to come by, which is why I decided to make my own. I took a page out of 𝗏𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐴N's book. He was a YouTuber that had shared back in the day a technique of using concrete reinforcement wire to build tomato cages, and it was a game changer. I went from flimsy, topple over, weak tomato cages to hefty-duty, robust cages that could handle any tomato I could grow. So this is what the reinforcement wire looks like. The majority of this roll has been used up. They come in 150-foot rolls in heights between 5 and 6 feet. You can buy this at some of the big box stores like Home Depot and Lowe's. It is heavy and cumbersome to work with, and you do need bolt cutters to cut through this heavy-duty gauge wire. But if you're interested, I did make a video showing you how I put it together. I'll also link to 𝗏𝐿𝐴𝐺𝐴N's original video showing you how to build these. And you can make a ton of these cages off of one of those rolls, and they come in handy, like I said, not just for tomatoes, but for trellising all sorts of other fruits and vegetables, vining flowers even. And what I do is in the off season, I just take these and put it towards the back end of the yard against the fence so they're out of the way, and the following year they're ready to go. You can see here's a little binder clip left on here. That's another benefit. You can drape different things like row cover or shade cloth around these very easily, attaching it to the wire. Anyway, regardless whether you build these heavy-duty cages or not, you can utilize the tomato cages that you're using to grow your tomatoes to trellis up all sorts of different vegetables, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So first things first, I'm going to clear back the mulch from the ground here. Hopefully you're keeping up on your mulching, guys. It's one of the absolute best things that you can do to build up the soil profile in your garden, build soil tilth, help to facilitate life for the soil food web, helping to keep the moisture locked into the soil underneath your mulch layer is also going to help to facilitate life for the microbes. So important, the little construction workers in your garden that go to work breaking down all the different organic materials, helping to again create premium garden soil. So now I'm going to loosen up and amend this soil, get it ready for planting. You could use a shovel, you could use a hori-hori. I'm going to be utilizing this smaller broad fork that I just picked up, similar to a garden fork in the way that you can loosen up and aerate the soil without causing too much disturbance or harm to the earthworms that will be in the soil. Just going to go down about 8 inches or so and pop the soil just enough to help to aerate and break up any large clumps. Next, I'm going to be using this little cultivator tool. Really nice way to break up the larger chunks. Helps you get down a few inches just loosen up the soil a little bit further. Now I'm just going to do a quick surface rake, get any of the larger chunks and wood chips that are still in there out of the way. And now we've got a beautiful spot to plant. Now another option, and I recommend doing this especially if growing a tomato plant in the center, you can take a T-post or any sort of stake, drive that into the ground and attach your cage to that. Because we're doing pole beans all the way around, it's going to in effect secure the cage in place as the vining occurs all around the cage. All right, so we're ready to plant, but I just want to show you an up close of the roots that have developed on these pole beans being in the sand. And look how easy it is to separate your plants. They just pull right apart. So I can go around and position these plants where I want them. We're just going to space them a couple inches apart from each other. And again, there's no breakage in the roots. They pull right out. And because we've given these plants a head start like this, they're a lot less susceptible to some of the different insects like pill bugs, aka roly-polies, or earwigs, aka pincher bugs, that can come in and devastate a crop like this. We're going to take a secondary action once we get these in the ground, just to ensure that we don't lose our crop. You know, beans and peas are one of the easiest crops to just sow directly into the garden, but getting a head start on the season is always a benefit, especially in colder climates. And you're not going to want to plant out your beans until after your last frost date in your area. I'm actually jumping the gun a little bit here, but that's okay. I looked up the weather, not that they're always accurate, and it looks like we've got some pretty nice weather for the next few weeks here, so I'm going for it. But I'm also going to be adding some other protection to this as well, as you'll see in a moment. There's something very satisfying about having an instant garden when starting seeds early as well that I really like. And by the way, you could absolutely stack functions with a design like this and plant yourself a tomato or a gourd, something like that, right there in the middle. I do that all the time, but for this particular video, we're just focusing on planting out the pole beans. And another awesome thing about this technique, well, we've still got this sand that we can continue to plant new seeds or cuttings out in, so we can reuse this again and again. How cool is that? All right, so the next step is I'm going to dust these roots with some mycorrhizal inoculant. This powder here is a fungus that has a symbiotic relationship with the roots of the host plant, in this case, our rattlesnake beans. And all we're going to do is dust directly on those roots. You don't need a whole lot, but you also can't overdo it. And this is going to help with the formation of mycelium, which occurs just below the soil surface under your mulch layer. The mycelium can run for quite the distance, helping to bring in nutrients, water, and whatever else the plant needs to thrive. You're going to see stronger, healthier, more abundant crops, more resilient to pest, disease, weather conditions. It's a strategy in the gardening world that should not be overlooked, in my opinion. All right, so now I'm going to use my soil scoop and plant out these beans in about a minute here. Pop that in. And you may have noticed that I'm planting out here in the evening time, which really is the best time to transplant your crops. If you were to do this in the midday when the sun is out, it could cause quite a bit of shock to the plants, potentially even killing them back. But in the evening, before dark, you can get these plugged in with the least amount of shock. Also, if you can do this on a day where it's not too windy, that's going to be good. Now, if you could do this a day before the rains come in, that would be absolutely the best, as long as it's not too heavy of rains. And there you have it, easy peasy. let's just water these in now. Want to soak it in really good, get rid of any of the air gaps that we just created by disturbing the soil. And when you're starting your seeds early, leave yourself a few extras that you don't plan out. That way, if any of these do get attacked by an insect or die back for whatever reason, you can just plug a seed in its place so you don't have a gap. And as always, I like to send out a blessing to my new plantings. So welcome to the garden, rattlesnake beans. Hope you love your new home and you grow abundantly. We're happy to have you. And you can go around and touch things up a little bit after you water in if needed. Now, a couple options I'm going to employ to increase success. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of this 𝗙𝗏𝗄 Plus around my plantings. You just need a little bit. And a 5-pound container like this can last several seasons. This is an OMRI listed organic control. Not only is it going to help you with pill bugs, earwigs, but also slugs and snails. For the most part, this is just iron phosphate, and what you want to do is help to activate it by putting a bit of water over those little granules. Now understand this, wild birds love this stuff. They'll eat it up within a 24-hour period. It doesn't hurt them at all, but that's a waste of product, which is why I recommend another precaution here, and that's to put a bit of row cover around this. This is also going to protect this crop from any frost or freeze that could still come in and potentially kill back these heat-loving pole beans. And this stuff really works. You can see here's some of our snap peas that we established. The same technique. Now they're running at about 8 inches plus. Without this row cover, the birds would also be eating the leaves of my snap peas. And I like to buy this floating row cover in bulk. I use it for all sorts of things. I've got carrot patches over here. I've got a lupine patch over here. I've got some more snap peas over here. And you can just cut right through this stuff with a pair of scissors and just clip it onto the cage with a little binder clip. And we'll secure it down with a few river rocks, bricks, whatever you got. And just like that, we got our pole beans planted out, protected, insulated. Now all we need to do is a little bit of watering, get these things established, and we're off to the races. Well guys, it's getting dark out here quick. It's still a beautiful night. I'm absolutely enjoying myself, but I do apologize if the lighting wasn't the best towards the end of this video. Anyways, I do appreciate you guys joining me today. If you enjoyed this video or found it entertaining in any way, do me a favor and smash the thumb button. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. New uploads every week, sometimes every day, and I'm always giving you updates on all the different things going on around here. And be sure to check down below in the description box for any links or related content that have to do with this video. Until next time, this is Dan from plantabundance.com. Take care. I'll be talking to you again soon.